Okay, let's solve this problem. So we have to start with the overload operator, right? And I know that it's gonna be returning a boolean, so it's gonna be a boolean operator. I'm gonna define a greater operator because in the question it says it depends how you define it. All right, you could come, as long as you satisfy the conditions in this statement, which is looking for less than the queried ID. So it really doesn't matter how you define it as long as you get the result. Okay, but for my case I'm going to also you should notice that I define overload operator outside the profile struct. You could also do it inside it. Okay, it doesn't hurt anything. So in this case, to be more explicit, I'm gonna define outside the struct, profile struct. So here we have an integer ID, and then I'll have a profile object. Let me call the right hand side to be more precise and more explicit. And now I'm gonna say, okay, I'm going to compare this ID number with the SID component of the right hand side. If that is the case, I'm gonna return true. Okay, if that is not the case, I'm gonna say return false. Okay, let me make it more okay, nice. Yeah, you could always like make it in a single line, but I'm just trying to make it more explicit to understand more easily. Okay, all right, so next step is gonna be to work on the find function, but before that I would like to remind you that we have this array object missing in the main program. So there will be an array object. How can I define this? I can define this just because I have an array.age included here, which is an array class template. So I can use it any data type I want, right? So in this case, I want to be able to use this with a profile data type, because I'm saying I'll work on a student database or student array object, which will store profile objects inside this array. Okay, so since I already provided the student array, it looks like a static array or any other array that you have been working on with in your earlier experiences. But now actually this is a little bit different than the earlier ones. This is a customized array which is created by my array class. Okay, so I'm going to create this student object, but I want to come up with a size here, right? Inside the constructor, if you check the array.h, you'll see you have to indicate a size for your array object. Okay, you could come up with any sizes, but here I'm going to observe the number of elements I have in my student object. So it looks like I have to at least reserve like 4 spots because I have 4 entries coming down the road. Okay, so I'm gonna say for this initial size, I'm gonna set it to what? 4. Okay, I can hear you. All right, let's go back to our find function. So the idea was to compare each profile object sitting inside my array S array. Okay, I have an S array object here, right, which is a type of what? Array. And it says in this array object, which is called S array, I'm going to store profile objects. Okay, therefore I'm able to use the student array object as an input parameter for my find function inside the main program. Okay, so let's go back to our find function again. Inside this find function, I need to come up with a for loop, right? The reason is that I wanna check each entry of this array object, which is called S array. So I'm gonna start with an index I is equal to 0, that I can go until where? To the capacity of the S array. So how can I get the capacity? I know that from this array I have a length function which gives me the capacity of the array. there is no bookkeeper for this array object, which is giving the number of elements, and there is no last index so far, so you don't have to worry about this because our question does not really require these things. So in that case, I can just go with what? The length of the array. So of course I have to increment this by 1. So I open my curly bracket, and then what? So it says, looks like I have an S array, which is an array object. I can treat this like a regular array, but my elements inside this array are profile objects. Keep that in mind because we are gonna need the overload operator here. Okay, so I'm gonna say if the ID provided by the user is greater than the ith entry of the S array object. Okay, so I don't have to indicate any other things here. I don't have to say SID or something else, because since I already defined my overloaded operator, okay, overloaded operator defined already at the top, I don't have to worry about this comparison because there is already some kind of mechanism which can make this check. Okay, so inside this if statement I have to write what? If that is the case, I'm going to see out that ith entry. Am I gonna do it like this? No, because if you provide this like this in this line, it will look for an overloaded operator to decide which component of the S array object, okay, I mean profile object to print out. Since I'm asking you, I'm not asking you, you are not asked to come up with an overload operator for cout. Actually, I want you to explicitly come up with the name component of this profile object, which is stored inside the S array. So at the ith entry, I have a profile object for which you can reach the name component by saying just dot name. Okay, so I know in the quiz I have 101 here, so that's why you didn't have any values when you run your program, because it was the least, it was the smallest ID number for the students, so therefore you didn't see any output on the screen. But if I make this 104, I should be able to see John, Eve, and Adam. I mean, in an order if you want to see, it should be like Adam, Eve, and John, because their ID numbers are all less than 104. Okay, so let's compile our program. Okay, so we don't have any errors, right? Luckily. Okay, which is good. So when I run it, it says Adam, Eve, and John, who are the ones having ID numbers less than 104. All right, let's stop here.